Happy Thanksgiving Eve, everyone. Welcome to CBS Sports Network. This is the Early Edge brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. This is the college football picks show, and we've got a lot to cover and a lot of college football playoff implications to go over as well, at least address. And we're going to do that with Emory Hunt and Mike McClure. Gentlemen, a lot to talk about. So we're going to get right into it. And I got to just let the cat out of the bag. Me, Emory, and Mike are having a fight over best cereals of all time. So maybe we'll throw some takes there as we go through the show. But I'm going to start in the ACC, Emory and Mike, and we're going to start with Georgia and Georgia Tech. Emory, I start with you. This is a pretty big game, in my opinion, especially as it relates to Georgia. Georgia Tech not playing much defense lately, and that's why we see the 13.5-point spread here, 59.5-point total. What's your play in this one?
Yeah, and unfortunately, Georgia Tech stubbed their toe against Pitt, and unfortunately, they ran out of time. Otherwise, this game would have had a massive level of significance, but it's still a great game nonetheless, because we saw what it looked like last year, and I thought Georgia Tech had this game circled all offseason, and I still feel like they will play their best game because they still probably feel there's an outside chance they can find a way into the college football playoff if they pull off the upset. But plus 13.5, give me Georgia Tech to keep this one very close against their hated rival.
Mike, you're going the other way. It's maybe revenge on the mind of Georgia, correct?
Yeah, a little revenge on the mind. I think Georgia Tech, unfortunately, as Emory mentioned, kind of stubbing the toe, losing that game last week. I think that might have a little bit of a trickle-over effect. I think even if they were to win this game outright, I don't think they're getting in the college football playoff. And if you talk about this particular matchup here, I think that Georgia can just do enough offensively. I worry about the slow starts for Georgia Tech. We've seen it a number of times this season. And if you get that kind of a team into an obvious passing situation, I know they like to throw the ball in general, but like obvious situation where you've got Georgia out to a lead, I just think they can run away with it. So I just thought it should have been right on the other side of 2 touchdowns. Would have been 15.5 would have been a more appropriate number for me.
All right. Yeah, I wonder how that Georgia Tech loss last week is going to affect them. But again, this is a big game always for both of these teams. Let's go to Miami. Miami, obviously, every game's a big game for them. They're feel like, if I remember correctly with the rankings, certainly on the outside looking in. Mike, I'll start with you. They're laying 6.5 points. Feels like a lot of points at Pittsburgh, 51.5-point total. Mike, what's the play in this one?
Yeah, a lot of points. And to be honest, I'm impressed with Pittsburgh. You know, they had the spot where they kind of stubbed their toe, lost a game, and they could have bounced, they could have went either way last week, but very impressive performance a week ago. And because of that, I think that they're still out there fighting. I think they're going to still put the best foot forward. To me, I'm looking at points at 51.5. It's not a low total by any means, but I was expecting 53.5 or more here. You watch Miami time and time again. They have the ability to go score. I just think that Pitt's going to have some success here as well. So I think this is just a higher scoring game where you ultimately have the winner in the 30s here. So let's go over the 51.5.
Emory, we've got Pittsburgh ranked here at 22nd in the country, and that is valuable to a Miami team that's scratching and clawing its way, trying to make it into the college football playoff. Nonetheless, you're taking the points with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and we get treated with 2 fantastic freshmen in this game. You got Malachi Tony and Henschel, the freshman quarterback for Pitt. Both are playing above their classification, right? And I thought because we saw what we saw offensively from Pitt, along with their freshman tailback as well, like they got some dudes. So I feel like this game, with the significance of the matchup, is going to go back and forth. Miami is very good at the point of attack. That's going to help them probably win the game. But man, Pitt is going to make this extremely close to where I will take them plus 6.5.
Emory, there's been a lot of chatter, deservedly so, with respect to Miami, Notre Dame. Obviously, Miami winning the heads-up matchup early in the season. But when it comes down to it with the college football playoff, we'll see how it all plays out. But, there might be one spot for two of those teams. Do you have a take on, whether the head-to-head matchup should count for a little bit more than it does, or are we looking at more body of work since then?
Yes and no. I think both things can be true. The head-to-head matchups matter only if they're playing equally as good. Notre Dame is on fire right now, and I know a lot of that has to do with their schedule, but also they may have a potential Heisman Trophy winner, Jeremiah Love. Miami is playing much better, but man, when you talk about a team that has lost to 2 teams already and may not even play for the ACC championship game, Miami should be more focused on that 11 seed as opposed to getting in that 9 seed where Notre Dame is penciled in right now. So for me, it's about, can you play in the conference championship game? Are you going to lose to SMU again or something like that, right? So as good as Miami has looked the latter part of the season, I can't get over the fact that they lost those games and may not even play for a conference title.
Mike, any follow-up here?
Yeah, I would just say head-to-head matters, but I think it should matter more when we're talking about head-to-head between conference opponents or conference mates, right? When you're talking about games that were, either neutral site or early in the season, multiple months ago, I think the context has to matter a lot more than that head-to-head. So I give way more weight to head-to-heads when they're conference opponents and way less in situations like Notre Dame, Miami.
Let's do one more ACC game before we move on to the Big Ten and other major conferences here. Kentucky at Louisville. This is a 3.5-point spread, 47.5-point total. Emory, I'll start with you. What are you taking in this one?
I mean, this is a Louisville team that beat Miami. So again, Miami has no leg to stand on in terms of what they're talking about. But I love this rivalry game here. Louisville, it's a sinking ship right now with how they've played the last couple of weeks. But I do feel like they get some reprieve here by playing Kentucky because Kentucky is just not that good. So I like them to win this one, so I'm laying the points with Louisville.
Mike, you also laying the points here?
Yeah, as Emory mentioned, sinking ship against a team that doesn't even really have the ship this season. So when you look at this particular matchup, it's Louisville or nothing for me. You could maybe, look at a Kentucky team total under if you're looking at that route. But Louisville, I thought the numbers should have been on the other side of the 4. Would have set it at 4.5. And we all know how key 4 can be in a football game.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to lay the points in this one as well. A lot of picks on this show, but certainly a lot of picks at SportsLine from Emory, from Mike, and from the entire SportsLine universe, which of course includes me as well, but so many other great cappers breaking down not just college football, but NFL, NBA, MLB, WNBA, UFC, PGA, you name the sport, and SportsLine's got it. We got picks, model picks, of course, DFS, simulations, you name it, SportsLine's got it. Go to sportsline.com/join, type in the promo code winners, and you get 60% off the annual plan. Again, sportsline.com/join, type in the promo code winners, 60% off the annual plan. That gives you the Discord, by the way, for free with almost 10,000 people in there. I think we're at about 8,000 there. We got Big Ten bets coming up next. Iowa, Nebraska, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Washington, Northwestern Illinois. It's coming up on the Early Edge College Football Picks Show. We're back on the College Football Picks Show here on the Early Edge. It's Emory Hunt, it's Mike McClure, it's Sia Nejad, and we've got to go to the Big Ten. Let's go to perhaps an undercard relative to the games we're about to get to. It's Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa laying 6.5 points, 38.5-point total. That's low. Mike, I'll start with you. Are we laying the points with Iowa?
Reluctantly, yes. Look, this game total at 38.5. I mean, this is cornflakes versus Rice Krispies here, fellas. Like it's not exciting. It's not fun. I think that Iowa's the better team here. I don't trust Nebraska at all. And they may be able to get this cover with -6.5 while scoring 14 points or less in this game. I just think that it's an under kind of game, as evident by the total. I think they're the better team. I don't trust Nebraska in the state of the program right this moment. So I'll be looking to fade them wherever I can. I do admit that I think the number is about right for as low scoring as the game is likely to be, but Iowa or nothing here.
Quick aside here, Emory. I did the candy bracket with Jake Seeley, who you worked with in the past as well. He's got a cereal bracket that we're going to work together. He's got Cinnamon Toast Crunch churros and Cinnamon Toast Crunch apple pie as his top 2. Post Honey O's is his 3rd-ranked cereal overall. Like, what's going on here? Also, do you like Iowa?
I'm surprised Jake still have all his toes with all the sugar that he like in the doggone cereal. Like, he got to grow up. So I will say this. I agree with Mike. I can see this Iowa-Nebraska game finishing like 17-7. That helps us cover. That helps the under. I like Iowa's defense more so than I like Nebraska's offense in this matchup. So therefore I am laying the 6.5 points with the Hawkeyes.
All right, let's go to Ohio State, Michigan. I mentioned Iowa being an undercard. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan, I'm very excited about this game. Obviously, Ohio State, the number one team in the country, but Michigan, not too shabby at number 15, a 44.5 point total, 9.5 point spread. Emory Hunt, where are we headed?
We're going to Ohio State. At some point, you got to fight back, right? You got to beat the bully up, and I do feel like this is the year they'll get their get back. And the reason why I love their defense versus the offense, that's the matchup here, as it is with the Iowa-Nebraska game. I like Ohio State's defense versus the freshman quarterback. I know Ohio State has a freshman quarterback in Julian Sayin, but he's gotten better each and every week throwing the football. They've been up and down in terms of allowing Bryce Underwood to throw the football around the yard. He had a great game last weekend, but this is a tougher matchup defensively, so therefore I feel like Ohio State can get this cover.
Now, Mike, we know Ohio State's the number one team in the country. As we get closer to game time, this 9.5 could very well click up to 10. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what you're waiting for.
Yeah, waiting for the 10.5s. There's a lot of different numbers in the market currently. It ranges between the 9.5 and the 10.5. I certainly don't think it goes to 11. Would love it at 11 where it's a key number. I just think Michigan has a shot here. I love, number one, the location of the game. I think matters a lot in this particular matchup. And Ohio State, clearly the number one team in the country. Clearly what they are doing on the defensive side of the ball is going to be significant. However, I like the success that Michigan has had in this particular rivalry. I like where Michigan is at right now. And I actually grade Michigan out as a top 10 team in terms of net EPA per play. When you look at both sides of the football, they're quietly kind of lurking right there. So I think they've got a puncher's chance in this game. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to take something special from Underwood, but I think he's going to actually run the football a little bit more. I know we've said that a few times this season, kind of saving him for spots like that. I think this is the spot. And I ultimately think they're able to cover this spread.
All right, let's go to Oregon at Washington. Obviously, Oregon very much in the national championship conversation. Not so much Washington, but Oregon has to travel to Washington. They're only laying 6.5 points here. Mike, the total 51.5. Where are we headed?
I'm going to lay it with Oregon, 6.5. I think this line could have been closer to 8.5, 9.5, to be honest with you. I think that Oregon, while they haven't necessarily been elite on the road, and Washington maybe a little underrated as well, I think Oregon can just do whatever they want offensively here still. I think they're going to go out and be able to put up enough points to ultimately pull away. We saw them with the victory over USC. I think they carry that momentum again here, and I like it. I thought the number should have at least been 7.5.
I was thinking, honestly, I truly was thinking 7.5 as well. I like laying a touchdown or less here, Emory. How about you?
I think this is funny aside right quick. I think this is one of these funny experiments. How smart are you as an American? I guarantee a lot of people probably think Oregon and Washington are the same state. If you ask them where Portland is, they probably say Washington. You ask them where Seattle is, they probably say Oregon. So there's home away doesn't matter to me, in my opinion. So I think Oregon definitely wins this ball game by double digits. We saw them play a high leverage game against USC, and USC really had to fight hard for every point they scored. Oregon, it looked like it was easy for them. And I know Washington provides some challenges in terms of their run game and with their dynamic ability at quarterback. But, man, we're talking about a defense in Oregon, along with their offense now playing at a high level. Give me the Ducks minus the 6.5.
All right, let's go to Northwestern at Illinois. Another 6.5 point spread, 46.5 point total. This one's Saturday night at 7:30. Mike, I'll start with you. Another, curious, just under a touchdown spread, kind of maybe baiting us into taking Illinois. What are you taking?
Yeah, I'll take the over, kind of a contrarian look, but 47 is still a relatively key number in games like this. So I think that everything here to me is about right. Like you can make the argument that Illinois could maybe be the full touchdown favorite, but I think Northwestern's competitive enough in this game. To me, this is like a 27-20 kind of game, and ultimately you just get there on the total. So not something that I love on either side here, but just playing around those key numbers. Again, 27-20, 27-21, that's the kind of game I see here, ultimately going over that 46.5.
Emory, Mike can be right on that 27-21, or maybe let's say 27-23. That'll be that 6.5 point cover for Northwestern. Is that where you're headed?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Northwestern ain't nothing but Iowa with better ACT scores. So they play great defense. They do a great job of making the game close and competitive and physical. So I will take the Wildcats plus 6.5. I like how they're finishing the season. They're going to go into the winter workouts, signing day, and spring practices with a lot of momentum. They're probably going to be one of these surprise teams in the Big Ten in 2026.
Is it ACT these days over SATs, or is it like equal billing for both of those tests? Emory, do you know? I'm too far removed.
I took the ACT when I was coming out, and so stayed away from the SATs because I got what I needed on the ACT, so I was good. So, so at the end of the day, I don't know. And you know what? I did read this. My coach called me. He said they've taken away the requirements for student athletes to have an ACT or SAT to be eligible to play. There's no more requirements for those tests.
All right, breaking news. All right, we got to get to Big 12 bets. Emory, Mike, that's coming up next. We got Utah, Kansas, Arizona, Arizona State, Houston, Baylor, Cincinnati at TCU. A lot more coming. And don't forget, obviously we're covering the SEC as well, along with our best bets. That's all coming up next on the Early Edge. And we're back on the College Football Picks Show. We move to the Big 12, and we're going to start with Utah, trying to make some noise with respect to the college football playoff. Certainly, there are 13 overall, but they're playing Kansas, 59.5 point total. Mike, I'll start with you. They're laying 11.5 points here. What do you like?
I like Utah. I think this is an overreaction to last week. Excuse me. I bet on Kansas State last week plus 17.5. Wasn't expecting them to almost win the game outright, but there's a big difference still, in my opinion, between Kansas and Kansas State. This game should be over that 14.5 number. It should be over 2 full touchdowns here. Utah got the scare from Kansas State last week. Going to go on the road here and take care of business. Kansas just not good enough on either side of the ball. I think Utah comes in with an extremely focused effort, takes care of business in a pretty big way here. Again, if they had not even necessarily covered the 17.5, but say they won by 14 last week against Kansas State, this line would be identical here at 14.5. Just an overreaction here.
Emory, certainly an improbable comeback. I mean, not that Utah shouldn't have won that game. Before you go in, you're thinking Utah maybe even covers the spread against Kansas State. But I thought they were just crushed. I thought they were killed. I didn't think they were going to win that game. And I do feel like this line is a little short. Do you also like Utah?
Love Utah in this ball game. I agree wholeheartedly with Mike. And I also feel like what adds to this intrigue for this game, and a big reason why I'm going with Utah confidently, is that we are just off of the college football playoff rankings, and both Utah and BYU are outside looking in, while Miami, with their 2 conference losses, are sitting right there in a good spot. So Utah will use that snub to take their frustration out on the Jayhawks, who provide no resistance on defense. They're going to win by at least 20, in my opinion. So lay these points right now with Utah.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite one that we've discussed so far. Let's move forward, though, to Arizona State. Interesting with respect to the rankings here. We've got Arizona 25, Arizona State 20th. Emory, I'm a little disappointed because my James Madison Dukes, I don't believe, made it inside the top 25. Perhaps Arizona taking their spot. Nonetheless, we got Arizona State laying 1.5 here, 59.5 point total. What do you like in this one?
Disappointed, Sia. You didn't check out our college football playoff reaction coverage last night on CBS Sports Network and CBS Sports, YouTube channel. You got to lock in, man. We do a lot of great stuff over there. That's
my bad.
So
it's on me.
You would have caught my epic rant on JMU not getting into the top 25, let alone the postseason, and how they just rubber stamped Tulane. So for this game, it had these 2 teams ranked lower in the back end of the top 25, but I like it because I expect a back and forth affair. I've said numerous times that Arizona's playing light years better than they did last season, and they're fun to watch. And both quarterbacks have been, splashes of greatness. Even Sims, when he had to start these games for the Sun Devils, and they're so explosive in the backfield. So I like this one to go over 48.5 points.
Mike, by the way, Emory, I'm going to go back and watch that. Now I really want to watch it. And your stuff on HQ and, of course, everywhere where you have content is amazing. Mike, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, I'm right there with him over. And the number currently 48.5. I think this number is way too low. I think we're going to see both teams approach 30 points in this game. Back and forth, certainly to be expected. Rivalry game. I think we see not only a trick play or two, but a successful trick play or two when you look at the weapons that each one of these teams has and the creativity from the coaching staffs. I think this is a game that ultimately soars over that total of 48.5.
All right, let's go to, and we have 59.5 here. Is it 48.5 or did we just have it wrong on the graphic? It is 48.5, right?
It's 48.5. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, my mistake there. 48.5 is the total in that one. Let's go to Houston at Baylor. Baylor laying 2.5 points. 59. This one's a 59.5 point total. Emory, what do you like? Are we laying the points with Baylor? We like the total?
Not only are you not watching our content on CBS Sports HQ, you threw the graphic people and the team underneath the bus. See, like you gotta lock in.
I said my mistake. I owned it. I said it's my mistake, even though I'm
okay. Just making sure, just making sure you lock in. We're in the C block. You got to lock in right now. All right, I'm gonna go Houston. I'm gonna say Houston plus the points here. I don't know why they are underdogs in this game. To be completely fair and honest, this was shocking to me. They're much more consistent than I feel like their opponent. So for me, the plus 2.5 short number is basically saying it's a pick 'em. So I'm going to pick Houston to win this game.
Mike, this does feel like the road team, or I should say the home team only having to cover the key number of 3. It does feel like Houston might be the appropriate play here. What do you like?
Yeah, I like Houston. Look, I like Emory. I kind of have it as a pick 'em. The line, certainly implies, pick 'em in some particular spot. It would be a pick 'em at a neutral. When you talk about travel from Houston to Baylor too, it's not significant really at all in the state of Texas. So I think this is a spot where I'd take whoever the underdog is at this particular point. I do have it a lot closer to a pick 'em maybe than others do, but right now I like the momentum a little more on the Houston side. So the fact that you're getting the full 2.5 here, I know we always think 3 being the key number. 2 itself can be as well. So I do like the 2.5 with Houston.
All right, let's move. We're moving quickly through this show. Cincinnati at TCU. We've got a 56.5 point total here, and we've got TCU laying the 4.5 points. Mike, I'll start with you. TCU minus 4.5. That's where my lean would be. Am I wrong?
You might be. I don't have a lot of conviction in the pick, and which might be interesting because my computer does have this a lot closer to a pick 'em. Cincinnati, it is a true road game with some travel. Certainly something that can be talked about when you talk about a holiday week, a lot of distractions. I still think that they're pretty equal here though. And the fact that TCU's laying more than a field goal, that's a little sketchy to me. We've seen this TCU team, we know the upside that they have. We've seen it a little bit like Kansas State, to be honest with you, but have found ways to really underwhelm consistently really this season. So I think at this point, I won't say they've quit, but they're nowhere near their capability and their potential. And I think it's too late in the season to kind of salvage that. So I would take the points at this particular number.
Emory, every time Mike thinks I'm wrong, he does a really nice thing. He says, "Oh yeah, you might be wrong. I actually like this." You're here to emphatically tell me that I'm wrong.
Yeah, I have no problem being blunt. And so even I disagree with Mike about Houston to Waco. That's 6 different Texases you got to pass through from Houston to Waco. In terms of the call, it's like going from New York City to Syracuse. You probably need a passport to get from New York City to Syracuse in terms of the landscape of New York. But yeah, you're wrong on this one. See, I like Cincinnati. This game, to me, the point spread probably should have been the point spread for Houston Baylor, with Houston being favored. So I thought this would be a lot closer, to a 2.5 point, to Mike's point, the pick 'em. So I'm gonna take Cincinnati. I like their defense a little bit more than TCU.
All right. We like Cincinnati in this one, or at least Emory and Mike like Cincinnati in this one. And frankly, you shouldn't be listening to me. You should be listening to them, especially when it comes to the SEC plays. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot of great games to talk about in the SEC, including Texas A&M and Texas. Can't wait for the thoughts there. Vandy, Tennessee, Bama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. It's all coming up next on The Early Edge. It's time to turn our attention to the SEC. Emory and Mike, we're going to start with Ole Miss and Mississippi State. We got a 62.5 point total. We've got Ole Miss laying, I believe, 7.5 points here at BetMGM. Mike, I'll start with you. I feel like I want to go Mississippi State here at home, taking the points. Am I wrong?
I think you're wrong on this one. I think Ole Miss can do enough offensively. It's a huge motivational spot. They've obviously had a ton of attention on the program with what Lane Kiffin is potentially going to do, not going to do. We'll maybe find out after this game. This is their likely last opportunity to put something on film for the college football playoff. If they were to lose this game, there's a scenario that they're bounced. They don't get to play in the SEC title game if they lose this. Even if they win this game, they have to have Texas A&M and Alabama both lose their games for Ole Miss to have a shot to go to that SEC title game. This is their opportunity. They need to leave, absolutely no doubt, and I think they do it. And while Mississippi State's been, a team that took a big step forward, even though it doesn't necessarily show in the standings. They took a big step forward this season, and that's great for them there. I just think Ole Miss can do enough offensively in this game to run away with it. So give me Ole Miss here -7.5. And I will note you can find sevens pretty available in the market right now.
Emory, did you notice that? It only took basically a commercial break for Mike to get a little bit more aggressive and be like, no, Sia, you're wrong. And just no qualifier. Emory, you also like Mike's play.
That's why I like Mike, man. Mike rolled his sleeves up, put the cigarette pack in there. It's like, nah, you wrong. I like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just a quick flip of the personality. So when you look at Ole Miss, I think Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss is a perfect match, like red beans and rice and Fruit Loops and marshmallows. When that Fruit Loops became with the marshmallows, fantastic cereal. They went platinum on that one. So you add Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin with drama surrounded it and a rivalry game, they're going to win by double digits. So lay these 7.5 points with the Rebels.
Everyone's just trying to copy the Lucky Charms model. I feel like they broke the mold and everybody's just trying to catch fire there. We got so much to talk about when it comes to cereals. That's another show, though. This game I really do want to spend some time on because it's probably my favorite game of the week. Texas A&M at Texas. Texas A&M laying 2.5 points here. We've got a 51.5 point total. Now, we saw Texas A&M. They think they beat up on Samford last week, but they looked very vulnerable against South Carolina, Emory. And so I just wonder, I wonder how good this team is, but I could say the same about Texas. I wonder how good Texas is as well. They did put up 52 points last week, and that's kind of impressive. Arch Manning playing a little bit better. I think you could make arguments either way. What's your argument?
I think we're in for a lot of points, to your point, and also the fact that we get this rivalry back in the mix. This is something that we all grew up watching at this time of the season. And what really sticks out in my mind was the Ricky Williams record-breaking run against Texas A&M with Doak Walker standing there. It was just great. Tony Dorsett's there as well. So it was just fantastic football, and it meant a lot, this rivalry. So we got it back on the schedule. And this is a great game because Texas is surging. A&M is up there at the top. There's no way they can lose this ball game, right? But that's why they play the game. It could be on the brink, but that's why the point spread is what it is. But because I like A&M's defense, because I like Marcel Reed and his dual threat capability, because I like Casey Concepcion and what he can do as a dual threat guy, as a receiver and also as a return specialist, they're going to make a play to break the game open. So I will lay the points with the Aggies.
Mike, I lean to Emory here and laying the points here, but I'm not super confident about it. You like Texas.
I like Texas. I like chaos. This is Emory Hunt's worst nightmare. A 9-3 Texas team. They have no choice. They're in the college football playoff. If they win this game, they will be, right? So it would be a third top 10 victory. Yes, they will have 3 losses. Arch is playing a little better right now, but it's all Texas defense. Texas defense and just the stakes of this game, the crowd here, I think it matters. I do think the Texas A&M could have a little bit of a slower start in this one. So I like the chaos. I like Texas here. I made it a true pick 'em. You're going to give me a few points here with the Longhorns. I would take the few points because ultimately I do think this is kind of a final possession type of game. Wouldn't even shock me if we get overtime. But I like Texas here.
Emma, you agree if Texas wins this game, they're in the college football playoff?
See it. Had you watched the college football reaction show last night on CBS Sports YouTube channel, you would have seen the bracket. And the bracket already has 5 SEC teams in it. And if they do beat Texas A&M, make that 6 SEC teams that'll be in this doggone postseason. That's exactly what they want. That's the type of life they want to live in, the world they want to live in. But kids that were born today will know that someone really stood 10 toes down to not allow the SEC to take over college football like they're trying to do with this postseason. So America needs A&M to win this ball game, because if Texas wins, to Mike's point, they will be and not only will they be in the college football playoff, they probably have a bye too. So we don't need this to happen for the sake of America.
All right. I think we all got to be okay. So Texas A&M. So we're laying the points, Emory. That's why you're laying the points. You don't even believe in the pick. You just don't want Texas to be in the college football playoff. That's what I'm hearing. Vanderbilt at Tennessee. There's no way I'm rooting against Diego Pavia and company. I absolutely love this team. Tennessee laying 3.5 points at home, 65.5 point total. Mike, I'll start with you. What do you like?
Well, I like points. There's going to be points scored here, but I think Tennessee ultimately ends with more of them. Diego Pavia, phenomenal. He's going to walk into the hostile environment here, no doubt. I think he's ultimately going to have the success and keep this team in the game, but it's going to be that late turnover when he's trying to do too much that ultimately separates here, because I'm pretty confident Vanderbilt's defense is not stopping this Tennessee offense. If Diego Pavia wants to win this game, he's going to have to score near 40 points in this game to go win it. And I just think that he's going to get close, but going to come up short in, a very difficult environment. So give me Tennessee here, unfortunately.
All right, Emory, you're going the other way. You're with Diego Pavia and company.
I'm all for football's Van Wilder. When you think about Diego Pavia and what he has done at Vanderbilt and how he is able to throw the football like he has last weekend, I thought that was probably his best display of passing. He was efficient. He was dynamic. He played from the pocket. He was accurate. That sets the table for what this game is going to look like. It's going to be a high-scoring game because Mike is right. They probably won't stop Tennessee's offense, but man, that means you could see a situation where Diego Pavia has the ball in his hands with one possession left, and I will trust him 10 times out of 10. So I trust Vandy plus the points here against the Vols.
Diego Pavia, the Van Wilder of college football. Write that down. Let's go to Alabama and Auburn. Iron Bowl. Alabama laying 6.5 points here, 46.5 point total. This is another one of the games. Like, I understand we talked about Ohio State, Michigan, and obviously I'm intrigued by Texas A&M. This is in the top 3 for me as well. It might not be everybody's top 3. It just happens to be my top 3. Mike, Bama and Auburn, 46.5 points, 6.5 point spread here. What are we taking?
Bama for me, especially at 6.5. I found a 5.5, even a 4.5 at -127 out there currently. I am not on board with buying the Auburn stock at this point. Yes, they took care of what was it, Mercer? Congratulations. I don't think this team has what it takes offensively against this level of opponent. They've consistently been fine defensively at times. They don't have a quarterback that I can trust really at all. So the stakes of this game are kind of really high for Bama, right? They can win the game, put themselves in the SEC title game, or they can lose this game and have a team like Texas go beat Texas A&M, and all of a sudden Alabama's maybe outside of the playoff completely if they lose this game. That is the scenario that they face. It's truly must-win time. I think DeBoer will have them ready for it. And yeah, it's a night game in a spot where we've seen crazy, crazy things happen all the time. I don't care. Anything under a touchdown, give me Bama.
Emory, that's what I'm afraid of. This is a night game. This is a rivalry. Alabama plays a lot of close games. I feel like everybody's just going to be like, oh yeah, Bama under a touchdown. Like I got to take Bama here. I'm not saying I want to touch it. I'm worried about laying the points with Bama. Are you?
A little bit worried, but I trust in Alabama's consistency on both sides of the ball all season long. Now, Ty Simpson has to play a consistent game for 4 quarters in order for them to really blow out Auburn. But man, if Auburn goes out there and they start Deuce Knight, that could throw a big monkey wrench in their plans, because he was phenomenal, albeit against Mercer. And I got to apologize. I said Mercer would keep it close, and Auburn really blew them out and covered the 27.5 points. So shout out to Auburn, but Deuce Knight is going to be a phenom for the Tigers. And we don't know if he's going to start in this ball game, but I do trust Bama. I do trust them to meet the moment, and I will lay the points with the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, a little bit of an unknown there, Emory. This might be a bet where this is a 7:30 game on Saturday night. This might be a live bet scenario for me sometime in the first quarter. Feel it out and probably end up taking Bama if I'm being honest. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap up some of the SEC stuff, but we're going to come back after the break with our best bets and our underdog of the week. You're not going to want to miss it right here on the Early Edge. It's time for our best bets and dogs of the week, and perhaps a top cereal seed or some college football ranking reaction. But let's start with the best bets. And I guess we have the recap screen from last week. Let's bring that up first and see how we did last week and how we're doing overall. Emory, bad week last week, at least with respect to the best bets, 0-2. And then we've got Tom not here today, also goes 0-2. But Mike, carrying the team a little bit last week, 2-0 on best bets, plus 8.4 units on the best bets records season. Emory, let's start with you. It's bounce back season for you. At least this week it is. Talk to me about your two best bets for college football, week 14.
So when you're down on the scoreboard, you got to go back to what you know. So I'm going to the FCS for both of my best bets picks. No one else can talk about it. So New Hampshire taking on they got South Dakota State, who's playing in the first round because they were awful this year. And when you look at New Hampshire, it started with their upset over Monmouth, which is partly the reason why Monmouth is not in the postseason right now. So give me New Hampshire. Ricky Santos, who won the Peyton Award, which is the FCS Heisman. He's the head coach at his alma mater. Give me those guys plus 10.5 against South Dakota State. I know that sounds blasphemous, but they can win that ball game. And I have to go to my hometown, New Orleans, Louisiana, Thanksgiving weekend, the Bayou Classic, Grambling versus Southern. And here's the tip about this game. Whoever's heavily favored in this game may end up losing the game or definitely cutting it close. So therefore, Grambling being 13.5-point favorites, take Southern, who has been awful this year, but it won't matter because this is a great rivalry game. And heads up, if you're going to the Bayou Classic, Friday night, the Battle of the Bands, go to that and have all that fun out there on Bourbon Street and then get to the game at kickoff tomorrow or Saturday as opposed to halftime for the Battle of the Bands after the game. So go there, have fun, and then go to the game at the start of the game, guys.
That sounds amazing. Friday doubleheader, if you will, with the, what is it, the Battle of the Bands on Friday night on Bourbon Street?
Battle of the Bands on Friday. Yep, Battle of the Bands, and then the halftime show is always big. But make sure you go to the game when it starts, guys. Don't do that to those people.
Yeah, come on. Mike McClure, give me your top two best bets for college football week 14.
Headed back to the SEC, Sia. This is where we've kind of lived all season. I love Ole Miss here. Look, you can find it 7.5. You can find it at 7. You can find it at 6.5 in one spot. I played it at 7. I think they ultimately win this game by double digits. So I am not worried about the road game against Ole Miss, against Mississippi State. Excuse me. Yes, it's been an improved year for them. I think that Ole Miss is going to be able to do whatever they want still offensively in this game, and I don't think Mississippi State's going to be able to keep up consistently. A lot of drama surrounding the program. Lane Kiffin kind of thrives with chaos, and his teams do as well here. I think that they ultimately go win this game. This, again, is a kind of a must-win game. They got to win it, and they need some help to get to the SEC title game. So if they were to lose this game, there's weird scenarios that could knock them out of the college football playoff entirely. They have to go win this game. I think they come in focused, and again, I think they win by double digits. Same kind of scenario for the next play. It's Alabama. Again, laying the road chalk close to a touchdown. I found 5.5 at -118, would play it at 6, would play it at 6.5 still. I don't think the market moves it to 7. I think there's a lot of respect for Jordan-Hare Stadium, a lot of respect for this rivalry and the night game where things just kind of happen and get a little crazy there. I think this group from Alabama, though, keeps focused, keeps locked in. This is a must-win game for them, Sia. If they win, they can go play in the SEC title game. That doesn't matter. They can lose that game and they're in. If they lose this game and a team like Texas beats Texas A&M, there is absolutely a scenario where Alabama gets left out of the college football playoff. I think that they come in focused. And I like what they've done on both sides of the ball all year. You look at the games they lost, week 1, Florida State, throw it out, week 1. The other game they lost was against Oklahoma, the best defense in college football. They lost by 2 points while still holding Oklahoma to 23 points in that game. I think that they're a great team. I think they're ready to go. And I think they win this one by double digits.
All right. A couple, really 4 compelling arguments for 4 best bets. How about an underdog of the week? Emory, we're going to the Ivy Leagues.
Yeah, and this is fascinating because I can't wait to see the fans of the Yale Bulldogs travel to Youngstown, Ohio, and what that would look like for them, right? The culture shock that they'll see travel to the Midwest. But it's great because it's the first time the Ivy League is participating in the FCS playoffs. Yale won the auto bid because they beat Harvard last weekend. Harvard is also in the playoffs, but Yale draws a good matchup here against Youngstown State. Josh Pitzenberger is a fantastic running back, an NFL draft prospect, over 1,100 yards rushing this season. I think Yale goes into Stanball Stadium and gets the upset over the Penguins.
All right, Mike, how about your underdog of the week?
Can't wait for this game. It's Ohio State and Michigan, but we're going to shorten the game. Just a first quarter. Win the first quarter for Michigan, plus 200. You have to talk about the environment here, right? Home game for Michigan. Very difficult environment to go into. It's rivalry week. It matters here. Ohio State, very good defensively, very good offensively as well. Clearly deserving number 1 team in the country. I think Michigan is a lot closer, though. I have them just inside the top 10 in terms of net EPA. I think that they're able to really surprise early here, keep this one competitive and make it a game late. But I like them to win the first quarter at plus 200.
Michigan first quarter plus 200, a very, very interesting bet. I assume, Mike, the against the spread number in the first quarter, what is it, in the 2.5 range or something at around minus 110? I'm just throwing it out there. You might not
see where it's at right now. Generally, it would be 3.5s, but I would have to check and see where it's at currently.
Fair enough. All right, gentlemen, we got a couple minutes left. I want to get your reaction, if you have any reaction, to the college football rankings that came out yesterday. Kind of a loaded question because I'm sure there's a ton of reactions, but maybe, Emory, a headliner reaction when the rankings came out. You said to yourself, "Oh, this is interesting."
They rubber stamped Tulane to get to the college football playoff and ignored James Madison's 11-1 record, and if they go and win the Sun Belt Conference championship with only 1 loss, and Tulane got blown out by UTSA and also got blown out by Ole Miss, yet they find themselves being rubber stamped into the postseason because they only focus on one G5 team. I just think that's a crime for JMU.
I biased here, but I totally agree. Being a James Madison grad, Mike, your reaction to the rankings that were released yesterday?
I mean, just you see teams like BYU, Utah, things like that. Like I keep coming back to the 2 interesting games for me this week. Really 3. They're all in the SEC because the SEC, we know they're going to get more teams in, or potentially the Texas A&M Texas game looms large, but so do the Bama and Auburn games and Mississippi State, because there's scenarios where all 3 of these teams are in. There's scenarios where at least one of or 2 of them ultimately get bumped out if they're not able to take care of business. And for Alabama and Ole Miss, they have to do those not only against a rival, but on the road as well. So very, very interesting week in the SEC.
Now we got about 30 seconds left. I have to go to where I said I was going to go. Emory, give me your top 2, maybe 3 cereals all time.
Frosted Flakes, Lucky Charms, and Raisin Bran Crunch. Lock it in.
That's a pretty solid top 3. Mike, your top 3 all-time cereals.
Ooh, let's go. Captain Crunch is one of my faves. Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms. Love all that sugar.
All right. I liked Emory's top 3 better than Mike's top 3. We're going to battle it out. I'm going to create a bracket. Next college football show, I'll have a bracket to show everybody with 64 cereals ranked in 4 different regions. Emory, Mike, thanks for all the college football talk and a little bit of cereal talk as well. Everybody, have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. Enjoy all the football. Don't forget the Early Edge Monday through Friday on the SportsLine YouTube channel at 10 o'clock in the morning. We're doing it on Thanksgiving. We're doing it on Black Friday. We do it every single day. So check that out on the SportsLine YouTube channel. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next time on the Early Edge.